It is June 25th, 2009. At the Staples Center in Los Angeles, the lights remain on an empty stage. Hours earlier, a 50-year-old man rehearsed his final choreography, perfect movements he had executed thousands of times. No one knew that these would be his last conscious hours. In his Holmby Hills mansion, the most famous man on the planet ceased to exist while the world slept. But this is not a story about an ending. It is the story of how a boy with an impossible talent became a prisoner of his own legend. We go back for decades. Gary, Indiana, is an industrial city plagued by poverty. Smoke from the steel mills paints the sky a perpetual gray. In a two-room house on Jackson Street, 9 people share a space barely big enough for 5. It is August 29, 1958. Michael Joseph Jackson, the 7th of 9 children, is born. His father, Joseph, is a steelworker with unfulfilled dreams of being a guitarist. His mother, Catherine, is a Jehovah's Witness, a devout woman who sings with an angelic voice. The baby crying in that house doesn't know that he carries in his DNA an explosive combination: his father's hunger for success and his mother's artistic gift. Michael was barely 3 years old when his older brother, Jackie, noticed something strange. The little boy watched his brother's rehearsals with a disturbing intensity. He didn't just watch. He memorized every step, every turn, every hip movement. One day, without being asked, Michael stood in front of his brothers and replicated the entire choreography. Perfect. Exact. As if he had rehearsed for months. Joseph Jackson stopped everything. His eyes shone with something that wasn't paternal pride. It was recognition. He had just discovered his ticket out of Gary. Michael's childhood ends that afternoon. Joseph turns the basement into a rehearsal studio. The sessions begin after school and end past midnight. Michael is 5 years old when he receives his first lesson. Mistakes are punished with pain. Joseph holds a belt in one hand. The Jackson brothers learn that perfection is not optional. Michael, the youngest, the most talented, receives special attention. Joseph sees something in him that he doesn't see in the others. A star. A prodigy. A goldmine. The boy learns to sing while tears stream down his cheeks. He learns to dance while fear runs down his spine. And he learns the most important lesson: love is earned through excellence. 1964. Michael is 6 years old when the Jackson 5 debut in a local talent contest. The boy takes the microphone with trembling hands. When the music starts, something magical happens. Michael doesn't just sing, he performs. He mimics James Brown's moves with adult precision. He shouts, he crawls, he pleads with his voice. The audience is captivated. This isn't a child singing. This is an artist possessed by something greater than himself. They win the contest. And then they win the next one. And the next. Within months, the Jackson 5 are playing in nightclubs where they shouldn't be. Michael performs in smoky bars, surrounded by drunken adults, learning about a world he's not ready for. August 1967. The Jackson 5 audition for Motown Records in Detroit. Berry Gordy, the founder, is a man who has discovered Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, and Marvin Gaye. He is not easily impressed. Michael is 9 years old. He sings James Brown's "I Got the Feelin'." Gordy leans forward in his chair. When Michael finishes, there is silence in the room. Diana Ross, present at the audition, has tears in her eyes. Gordy says only 2 words: "We've signed him." But there is something in his tone. It is not emotion. It is calculation. He has just found his next millionaire. 1969. The Jackson 5 release, "I Want You Back." The album sells 2 million copies in 6 weeks. Michael is 11 years old and the youngest male star to reach #1. But while other children play baseball, Michael rehearses. While others go to the movies, Michael records. In interviews, he smiles with perfect teeth. But at home, in hotels, in studios, Michael looks out the windows. He sees children riding bicycles. He sees children laughing for no reason. He sees a life that will never be his. His brother Jermaine would later recall a scene: Michael sitting alone in a park, watching other children play on the swings. He doesn't approach. He just watches, as if he were watching a film of a life on another planet. Motown controls every aspect of the Jackson 5. Their image, their wardrobe, their songs, their interviews. Berry Gordy fabricates a narrative: the 5 talented brothers discovered by Diana Ross. It's a lie, but it's the lie that sells. Michael learns another lesson: the truth doesn't matter. What matters is the story the public wants to believe. In the recording sessions, Michael records line by line, directed by producers who demand perfection. By age 12, Michael has lost count of how many takes he's had to repeat. But his voice never falters. It never cracks. Because a mistake means disappointing his father. And that's worse than any exhaustion. 1972. The Jackson 5 are an unstoppable force. For consecutive #1 hits. World tours. Hysteria at every airport. Michael is 14 and can't leave his hotel. Fans camp out in the lobbies. If he sticks his head out, hundreds of people scream his name. It sounds like adoration, but it feels like prison. In a television interview, the host asks him about his girlfriend. Michael looks down. He has no friends. He has no private life. He has no adolescence. What he has is a voice the world adores and a gilded cage that closes in tighter every day. As Michael signs autographs with a mechanical hand, smiling for endless photographs, something begins to crack inside him. It's not visible yet. It's immeasurable, but it's there. A fine crack that will grow with time. Because no one asks him what really matters. No one asks what it feels like to be the entertainment of millions when you barely understand who you are. No one asks what happens when a child never learns to be a child. The cameras stop rolling. Michael returns to his hotel room. He looks in the mirror, and for the first time, he doesn't recognize the boy staring back at him. But who was that boy behind the spotlights, really? And more importantly, what was he about to become? 1975. Michael is 17 years old and has a gnawing certainty. Motown is killing them creatively. The Jackson 5 have released 17 albums in 6 years. They all sound the same. Formulas repeated ad nauseum. Michael listens to Stevie Wonder experimenting with synthesizers. He sees Marvin Gaye talking about politics in his lyrics. But the Jackson 5 are condemned to sing about teenage love and catchy melodies. Joseph Jackson, for the first time in his life, agrees with his son. They secretly negotiate with Epic Records. The betrayal is underway. The legal battle is brutal. Motown sues. The Jacksons lose the name Jackson 5. They lose royalties. They lose years of work. But they gain something more valuable: creative control. They become the Jacksons. Michael now has a voice in the production. He co-writes songs. He experiments. But there's a problem. His brothers don't share his obsession. For them, music is a job. For Michael, it's oxygen. Family tensions begin. Michael starts dreaming of something previously unthinkable: a solo career. 1978. Michael auditions for the role of the Scarecrow in The Wiz, a film version of The Wizard of Oz, with an all-African-American cast. Diana Ross stars. 19-year-old Michael enters the world of acting. On set, he meets Quincy Jones, the most respected music producer in the industry. Jones observes Michael between takes. He sees his unhealthy discipline, his obsessive perfectionism, his hunger for greatness. After a scene, Jones approaches him. "We should work together," he says. Michael just nods. But something ignites in his eyes. He has just met the man who will transform him into a legend. August 1979. Off the Wall is released. Michael co-produced the album with Quincy Jones. The sound is revolutionary. Funk, disco, rock, pop, all fused into something entirely new. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough reaches #1. Michael is 21 and has finally found his voice as a solo artist. The album sells 10 million copies. He should be ecstatic. Instead, he's furious. The Grammys snub him in the major categories. Critics treat him as pop music, not serious art. Michael learns another painful lesson: success isn't enough. It needs to be undeniable. Michael locks himself in his home studio. He listens to Off the Wall on repeat, searching for imperfections. He takes obsessive notes. Quincy Jones is getting calls at 2 in the morning. Michael has ideas for the next album. He wants every song to be a potential #1 hit. Quincy tries to calm him down. "Take a break," he says. Michael replies, "I don't have time." He starts studying videos of Fred Astaire, James Brown, Marcel Marceau. He practices dance steps until his feet bleed. His family notices the change. Michael no longer goes out. He doesn't socialize. He only works. The line between dedication and obsession has completely blurred. 1981. Michael enters the studio with Quincy Jones with an impossible goal: to create the best-selling album of all time. He doesn't just want success. He wants total domination. They work for 8 months. Michael is relentless. If a vocal take isn't perfect, he repeats it 50 times. Quincy brings in the best. Eddie Van Halen for the guitar on Beat It. Paul McCartney for the duet The Girl Is Mine. Michael choreographs every sonic detail. When Thriller is released in November 1982, Michael is convinced he has created something special. He has no idea that he has just changed the music industry forever. March 25, 1983. Motown is celebrating its 25th anniversary with a television special. Michael agrees to join his brothers for a performance. But he negotiates something, a solo number. When he takes the stage, he's wearing a black sequin suit and a white glove on his right hand. He sings Billie Jean. Midway through the song, he does something no one has ever seen on national television before. He slides his foot backward while appearing to walk forward. The moonwalk. 47 million Americans watch it live. The next day, kids across the country try to replicate it in their garages. Michael has created a cultural moment, and he knows it. Thriller doesn't just sell. It explodes. Every single reaches the top 10. The album stays at #1 for 37 weeks. Michael becomes the first African-American artist in constant rotation on MTV. The network had initially rejected his videos. Too urban, they said. Walter Yetnikoff, president of CBS Records, threatens to pull all his artists from MTV. Michael's videos begin airing, and MTV discovers its ratings skyrocket. Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller. Michael's videos aren't promos. They're short films, cinematic events. The music industry has just changed forever. December 1983. Michael invests $500,000 of his own money in the Thriller video. He hires John Landis, director of An American Werewolf in Paris. 14 minutes long. Hollywood special effects. Zombie choreography. The result is a horror short film that becomes a cultural phenomenon. MTV airs it twice an hour. It's sold on VHS as a standalone film. The Thriller album sells 42 million copies in a year. Michael, at 25, is the most famous person on the planet. Bigger than the Beatles. Bigger than Elvis. Bigger than anyone in the history of recorded music. In his Encino home, Michael sits alone in his bedroom. The walls are covered in gold and platinum records. He's won 8 Grammys in one night, a historic record. Thriller is officially the best-selling album of all time. He should feel fulfilled. Instead, he feels empty. Because now comes the most terrifying question. How do you surpass the impossible? Michael looks at his reflection in the window, and for the first time in his life, he doesn't see an artist. He sees an expectation. The world expects him to surpass himself, to do the impossible twice. But what the world didn't know was that Michael Jackson no longer wanted to be human. He wanted to be perfect, and that quest was about to consume him in ways no one could have imagined. 1984. Michael Jackson stares at himself in the mirror for hours. Not out of vanity, with something darker. He studies every angle of his face. His nose seems too wide. His cheekbones, insufficient. In interviews, he smiles perfectly. But in private, he consults plastic surgeons. The first rhinoplasty occurs after an accident during a dance rehearsal. The second, voluntary. And then a third. His family notices the changes, but says nothing. Joseph Jackson never spoke kindly about his children's physical features. Michael remembers every comment about his wide nose, his acne-ridden teenage skin. Those words, etched into his psyche, now dictate decisions in doctors' offices in Beverly Hills. In the mid-1980s, white patches began appearing on Michael's hands. It was vitiligo, an autoimmune disease that destroys the skin's melanin. His dermatologist, Arnold Klein, confirmed the diagnosis. Michael had 2 options: darken the white patches or lighten the remaining skin. He chose the latter. He used depigmenting creams. The process was gradual, but inevitable. His skin lightened year after year. But the public didn't know about vitiligo. What they saw was a black man turning white. The accusations began. He hated his race. He rejected his identity. He wanted to be white. Michael remained silent for years. The pain of those accusations was deeper than any scalpel. 1988. Michael buys Sycamore Valley Ranch in California for $17 million. He renames it Neverland, after the place where Peter Pan never grows up. He invests millions in transforming it. He builds a complete amusement park, roller coasters, a carousel, a Ferris wheel, an electric train. He installs a private movie theater, a zoo with giraffes, elephants, and orangutans. Neverland isn't just a house. It's a bubble, a world where Michael controls every variable. Here, he can be the child he never was. He can invite other children over and watch them play. He can relive the childhood that Joseph Jackson stole from him. But there's something unsettling about the vision. A grown man building a children's kingdom. August 1987. Bad is released after a 5-year wait. Michael has obsessively invested in every detail. The album must surpass Thriller. It must break all records again. The pressure is astronomical. Quincy Jones has worked with Michael to the point of exhaustion. Bad sells 30 million copies. It has 5 consecutive number ones. It is the most successful album by any other artist, but not by Michael Jackson. It doesn't surpass Thriller. For the rest of the world, it is a colossal triumph. For Michael, it is a failure. He learns a devastating lesson. Some hits destroy you because they will never be enough. September 1987 marks the start of the Bad World Tour. 123 concerts in 15 months. Michael takes live performance to unprecedented heights. Cinematic special effects, impossible costume changes, military-level choreography, hysteria in every city, fans fainting at every concert. But backstage, Michael barely speaks. He locks himself in his dressing room. He meditates. He prays. His team notices something. Before each show, Michael vomits from nerves. He's been doing it for years. Perfection comes at a physical price. And that price is paid every night. Michael befriends Elizabeth Taylor. She understands what it means to be famous from a young age. She understands the gilded cage. She becomes his confidant, his surrogate mother figure. He also grows close to Macaulay Culkin, the child star of Home Alone. Michael sees in Macaulay a mirror, another child actor, another stolen childhood. The tabloids find these friendships strange. A grown man with a 50-year-old actress and a 10-year-old boy. But for Michael, it makes perfect sense. They are the only ones who understand. The only people who know the price of early fame. 1993. Few know it, but Michael has developed a dependence on painkillers. It started after scalp burns during a Pepsi commercial in 1984. A pyrotechnic spark ignited his hair. Seconds of agony that led to years of chronic pain. Doctors prescribed Demerol. Michael discovers that the pills don't just soothe the physical pain. They soothe the existential pain, the pressure, the anxiety, the insomnia that has plagued him since childhood. He begins to depend on them. No one in his inner circle stops him. Some enable him. Because a medicated Michael is a functioning Michael. And the show must go on. November 1991. Dangerous is released without Quincy Jones for the first time. Michael produces only with Teddy Riley. The sound is more aggressive, more industrial. Black or white dominates the world. The video, with revolutionary morphing effects, becomes a television event. 35 million copies sold. But again, it's not Thriller. Michael is trapped in a competition with himself. A race he can't win because the finish line is in the past. Critics begin to notice something. Michael seems less human with each public appearance. His voice is more whispery. His movements, more ethereal. As if he were becoming something more than a man. Something less than a man. Something in between. February 10th, 1993. 90 million people tune in to Michael's interview with Oprah Winfrey. It's his first major interview in 14 years. Michael speaks about vitiligo for the first time. He speaks about his father's abuse. He shows Neverland to the world. But something feels rehearsed. Calculated. As if Michael had prepared every answer, every gesture, every tear. Because he has. Michael no longer knows what is real and what is performance. The line has blurred. Oprah asks him if he is happy. Michael smiles. Yes, he says. But his eyes tell another story. August 1993. The phone rings in Michael's lawyer's office. It's the father of Jordan Chandler, a 13-year-old boy who has visited Neverland several times. Evan Chandler makes an accusation. Michael Jackson has sexually abused his son. He demands $20 million to keep quiet. Michael refuses to pay. The Los Angeles police open an investigation. The story explodes in every newspaper in the world. In a hotel room in Mexico, where Michael is on tour, the most famous man on the planet breaks down. Everything he has built, the music, the legend, the magic, crumbs in a headline. The king of pop had just fallen from his throne, and the fall had only just begun. August 1993. The headlines are brutal. Michael Jackson accused of child abuse. CNN interrupts regular programming. The tabloids print special editions. In 24 hours, Michael goes from being the world's most beloved entertainer to its most hated villain. Radio stations begin removing his songs. Stores pull his albums from the shelves. The turnaround is so rapid, so absolute, that Michael doesn't understand what's happening. In his Bangkok hotel suite, surrounded by lawyers, Michael repeats one phrase: "I would never do that. I would never do that." But the world has already decided. The real trial won't take place in a courtroom. It takes place in the court of public opinion. And Michael is losing. December 1993. The Santa Barbara police obtain a search warrant. They search Neverland for hours. They look for evidence. Photographs. Videos. They find art books with classical nudes. The tabloids call them child pornography. They are legal editions sold in museums. But the narrative has been written. Then comes the worst. The prosecutor demands photographs of Michael's naked body. Jordan Chandler has described specific marks on his genitals. Michael must submit to a photographic body search. In a sterile room, surrounded by officers and forensic photographers, Michael Jackson, the most famous man in the world, is forced to undress. The humiliation is complete. Something inside Michael breaks that day, and it will never be repaired. Michael tries to continue the dangerous tour. In every city, protests erupt. Parents hold signs, "Protect the children." Michael takes the stage in Mexico City. Midway through Black or White, he collapses. The concert is canceled. Michael is rushed to the hospital. Severe dehydration. Uncontrolled painkiller addiction. Nervous breakdown. Elizabeth Taylor flies to be with him. She finds him curled up in the fetal position in his hospital bed, trembling. "I can't take it anymore," Michael tells her. "The world hates me." The tour is canceled. Michael returns to the United States. He enters rehab, but the damage is already done. January 1994. Michael's lawyers negotiate with the Chandler family. The strategy: pay to end this. $22 million in exchange for dropping the civil suit. Michael resists. "If I pay, it will look like I'm guilty," he argues. His lawyers are clear. A civil trial will be a media circus. Every sordid detail on national television. His career will be over either way. Michael signs the agreement. The money is transferred. The Chandlers drop the suit. Jordan Chandler refuses to testify in the criminal case. Without a cooperating victim, the prosecutor has no case. The criminal charges are dismissed. Michael should feel relieved. Instead, he feels defeated. Because the world interprets the payment one way, he bought his freedom. He must be guilty. May 1994. Michael Jackson marries Lisa Marie Presley, daughter of Elvis Presley. The announcement shocks the world. They met years earlier, but the romance was sudden. Lisa Marie insists it's real love. Cynics say it's a publicity stunt. Michael needs to rehabilitate his image. A wife, especially the daughter of the king of rock and roll, humanizes him. The couple appears at the MTV Video Music Awards. They kiss on stage. The moment feels forced, awkward, like bad theater. Lisa Marie will defend Michael in interviews. "He's innocent," she'll say again and again. But her voice sounds tired, as if she's going through a script. The marriage will last less than 2 years. June 1995. Michael releases History, Past, Present, and Future. It's a double album. Disc 1, Greatest Hits. Disc 2, New Material. The new songs are dark, furious. Scream is a scream of frustration. Tabloid Junkie directly attacks the media. "They don't care about us," speaks of persecution, of conspiracy. Critics note that Michael no longer sings about love or hope. He sings about betrayal and paranoia. The video for "They Don't Care About Us" shows him in a prison, surrounded by guards. It's an obvious metaphor. Michael feels imprisoned. By the scrutiny. By the accusations. By his own fame. The album sells 20 million copies. But the Michael Jackson of Thriller is gone. In his place, a broken man singing about pain. November 1996. Michael marries Debbie Rowe, a dermatology nurse who worked with Dr. Arnold Klein. Lisa Marie and Michael have divorced. Debbie Rowe represents something different. She's not famous, she doesn't seek the spotlight, and most importantly, she's willing to give him children. Michael is obsessed with fatherhood. He wants to create the family he never had. He wants to be the father Joseph never was. Debbie becomes pregnant through artificial insemination. In February 1997, Prince Michael Jackson is born. A year later, Paris Michael Catherine Jackson. Michael is a father. He finally has something money can't buy: unconditional love. Or so he thinks. But the marriage to Debbie is transactional. She herself will later admit it. It was an arrangement to give him children. They divorce in 1999. Michael gets full custody. Debbie receives $8 million. The children have a father. But that father is more lost than ever. 1998. Michael trusts no one anymore. His lawyers are constantly changing. His management team is rotating. His friendships are fading. Even his family sees him less and less. Michael shuts himself away at Neverland with his children. He hires a team of nannies, private tutors, and bodyguards. Prince and Paris never go to school. They never play with other children unsupervised. Michael covers them with masks and blankets when they go out in public. He says it's to protect their privacy. But there's more to it than that. Michael wants complete control over his narrative. His children will live in an even more airtight bubble than his own. He won't repeat Joseph's mistakes, but he is creating entirely new ones. October 2001. Invincible is released after 6 years without new material. Michael has spent $30 million on production. It's the most expensive album ever made. Sony Music hopes to recoup its investment. But the world has changed. Napster has revolutionized how music is consumed. Physical sales are collapsing. Invincible sells 8 million copies, figures any other artist would celebrate. For Michael Jackson, it's a catastrophe. He blames Sony for not promoting it properly. He stands in front of Sony's offices with signs accusing President Tommy Mottola of racism. The images are painful. Michael, gaunt, paranoid, shouting conspiracy theories. The king of pop has lost his kingdom. November 2002. Michael visits Berlin with his 3 children, Prince, Paris, and the youngest, Blanket, born a year earlier to an anonymous surrogate mother. Michael stays at the Hotel Adlon. Fans shout his name from below. Michael appears on the 4th-floor balcony. He holds Blanket in his arms. And then, he does something inexplicable. He holds the baby over the balcony railing. For what seems like an eternity, the baby dangles over the void, for stories above the ground. The fans scream in horror. The cameras capture everything. Michael steps back, seemingly confused by the reaction. Later, he apologizes, saying it was a terrible mistake. But the video goes viral. Child Protective Services investigate. The headlines are unanimous. Michael Jackson is a danger. To himself, to his children, to anyone near him. The man who once moonwalked to glory now teetered toward the abyss. And the world watched, no longer with admiration, but with fascinated horror. For the greatest fall of all was yet to come. February 2003. Granada Television airs Living with Michael Jackson, a documentary by British journalist Martin Bashir. 8 months of intimate access. Michael believed it would be his redemption, an opportunity to show his human side. Instead, Bashir destroys him. The footage shows Michael casually talking about sleeping with children in his bed. "It's the most loving thing," Michael says. Bashir asks, "Don't you see how people can misunderstand?" Michael seems genuinely confused. He sees nothing wrong. The documentary also shows his compulsive shopping spree. $7 million in an antique shop in a matter of hours. His children wearing masks. His face visibly altered by surgery. 27 million people watch it. The reaction is immediate and brutal. A boy appears in the documentary, Gavin Arvizo, a 13-year-old cancer survivor. Gavin says that Michael helped him during his treatment, that he visited Neverland, that Michael is like a father to him. He holds Michael's hand on camera. 2 weeks after the broadcast, Gavin Arvizo and his mother make an accusation. Michael Jackson sexually abused the boy. The exact date, after the documentary was filmed. Prosecutor Janet Arvizato takes the case. Santa Barbara District Attorney Tom Sneddon has been pursuing Michael since 1993. This is his second chance, and he won't let it go. November 20th, 2003. 70 police officers invade Neverland with arrest warrants. Michael isn't there. His lawyer negotiates a voluntary surrender. Michael flies in from Las Vegas. At the Santa Barbara police station, arrest mugshot, fingerprints, the whole process. The mugshot is leaked. Michael with a vacant expression, disheveled hair, a gaunt face. He pays $3 million in bail. He leaves in handcuffs. The images go viral. This time there's no doubt. There will be a trial. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, will be tried for child abuse before the entire world. January 2005. The trial begins in the Santa Barbara Superior Court. The international press camps outside. Helicopters constantly circle overhead. Michael arrives each day surrounded by bodyguards and family. He wears different outfits, military uniforms with decorations, all white, all black. His attire is part of the performance. Even in court, Michael is acting. Inside, the prosecutor presents her case. Gavin Arvizo describes nights at Neverland. Alcohol, pornographic videos, inappropriate touching. His brother Star testifies that he witnessed sexual acts. His mother weeps in the witness box. The tabloids publish every sordid detail. Newspaper sales skyrocket. Michael Jackson sells, even, especially, in his self-destruction. Michael's legal team, led by Thomas Mesereau, dismantles the accusation piece by piece. They present evidence that the Arvizo family has a history of extortion. They have sued celebrities before. The mother, Janet Arvizo, committed welfare fraud. She lied under oath in previous cases. Gavin's brothers changed their testimony multiple times. Mesereau presents phone calls where the family praises Michael after the alleged dates of abuse. Neverland employees testify that they never witnessed any inappropriate behavior. Macaulay Culkin, now an adult, testifies that he slept in Michael's bedroom as a child. Nothing inappropriate ever happened, he states firmly. The defense suggests that the whole thing is a scam. A dysfunctional family seeking money from an easy target. Midway through the trial, Michael arrives at the courthouse in his pajamas. He's had a medical episode. The judge threatens to revoke his bail. Michael apologizes, saying he had severe back pain. But those who know him know the truth. He's heavily medicated. Demerol, Xanax, Ativan. His addiction to painkillers is out of control. During recesses, Michael seems lost. He doesn't recognize people he's known for years. His weight drops drastically. One day, he leaves the courthouse and dances on the roof of an SUV for his fans. Cameras capture the bizarre scene. A man on trial for heinous crimes, dancing as if he were at a concert. Michael no longer distinguishes between performance and reality. Everything is a show, even his own destruction. June 13, 2005. After a 14-week trial and 7 days of deliberation, the jury reaches a verdict. The world stops. CNN is broadcasting live. Michael enters the courtroom with his parents, his siblings, and his lawyers. The judge reads, "On the charge of conspiracy to commit kidnapping, not guilty. On the charge of sexual abuse of a minor, not guilty. On the charge of providing alcohol to a minor, not guilty." 14 charges. 14 complete acquittals. Michael doesn't react. His face is an expressionless mask. Outside, fans erupt in celebration. But inside the courtroom, there is no triumph in Michael's eyes. There is something worse than defeat. There is absolute emptiness. Michael Jackson has been exonerated. He is legally innocent. He should celebrate. Instead, that night at Neverland, Michael locks himself in his room. Elizabeth Taylor calls him. Michael doesn't answer. His brothers knock on his door. Michael tells them to leave. He has won in court, but he has lost everything else. His reputation is ruined. His finances are in ruins. Legal costs have eaten away at his fortune. But worse than that, his spirit is shattered. Michael Jackson, the man who wanted to be loved by the entire world, is now viewed with suspicion by millions. The charges are dismissed, but the stain will never go away. And Michael knows it. June 2005. Michael leaves Neverland. He will never return. The place he built as his sanctuary now seems cursed to him. It was violated by the police, profaned by the trial. Michael packs a few belongings and leaves. First to Bahrain, invited by the royal family. Then Ireland. After that, France, Las Vegas, anywhere he can escape. He is morally and financially bankrupt. He owes $300 million. Bank of America threatens to foreclose on the mortgage. The Beatles catalog that Michael bought in 1985, his most valuable investment, is at risk. Michael lives in hotel rooms with his 3 children, depending on the generosity of wealthy contacts. The king of pop has become a refugee from his own legend. In a Las Vegas hotel room, Michael stares at himself in the mirror. The face that looks back at him barely seems human. Years of surgeries have transformed him into something strange. His skin is almost transparent from vitiligo and the treatments. His body is fragile from years of medication. He is 47 years old but looks 70. The boy who sang with an angelic voice in Gary, Indiana, is dead. The young man who moonwalked at Motown 25 is dead. The artist who created Thriller is dead. What remains is a ghost inhabiting the body of a legend. Michael whispers to his reflection, "Who are you?" But there is no answer. Because Michael Jackson stopped knowing decades ago, the verdict declared him innocent. But Michael Jackson never forgave himself for the crimes the world believed he committed. And in his desperate attempt to reclaim what he had lost, he would make the decision that would ultimately kill him. March 2009. Michael Jackson announces 50 concerts at London's O2 Arena. This Is It will be his comeback tour. His last chance to prove to the world that he is still the king of pop. Tickets sell out in 4 hours. 750,000 tickets sold. Demand is so high they could do 100 shows. Michael is euphoric. Finally, redemption. But his team is worried. Michael is 50 years old. Years of physical abuse. Decades of medication. Multiple surgeries. Can he really do 50 consecutive concerts? Michael insists, "I can do it. I need to do it." Because it's not just about the money. It's about proving that he still matters. That he can still be great. Michael has a problem. He can't sleep. Insomnia has plagued him since childhood. The nights are torture. His mind replays every mistake, every accusation, every moment of public humiliation. He needs sleep to rehearse, to act, to survive. He hires Dr. Conrad Murray, a cardiologist. Murray promises something no other doctor has: guaranteed sleep. The method, propofol, a powerful anesthetic used in surgery. Never designed for home use. Never appropriate for insomnia. But it works. Michael sleeps soundly under propofol. He wakes up rested. It's perfect. Except for one detail. It requires constant monitoring. One incorrect dose, one moment of inattention, and his heart stops. Murray agrees to administer it every night. For $150,000 a month. May 2009. Rehearsals at the Staples Center reveal problems. Michael is constantly late. Some days he doesn't show up at all. When he is present, he seems disoriented. His weight has dropped below 130 pounds. The dancers notice that he forgets choreography he has performed thousands of times. Kenny Ortega, the show's director, sends concerned emails to EEG Live, the promoters. Michael needs professional help. He is physically weak. But AEG has invested $30 million. The concerts begin in 3 weeks. There's no time for worries. Michael just needs to focus. He needs to commit. He needs to be professional. June 24, 2009. Michael is having dinner with his children at his rented mansion in Holmby Hills. Prince is 12. Paris is 11. Blanket is 7. Michael tells them that today's rehearsal was perfect, that the show will be magical, that soon everything will be all right. Paris notices that her father is barely touching his food. "Are you okay, Dad?" she asks. Michael smiles, that rehearsed smile he has perfected over decades. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Everything is perfect." But it isn't. Michael is exhausted to the bone. He hasn't slept properly in days. His body is collapsing. After dinner, he kisses his children goodnight. It is the last time he will see them conscious. Michael goes up to his room around 1 a.m. on June 25th. Dr. Murray is waiting. Michael pleads, "I need to sleep. Please, I need my milk." That's what he calls propofol. His milk. His escape. Murray administers lorazepam at 2 a.m. It doesn't work. Midazolam at 3 a.m. Michael is still awake. Diazepam at 5 a.m. Nothing. Michael is desperate, pleading. At 10:40 a.m., Murray finally administers 25 milligrams of propofol intravenously. Michael finally falls asleep. Murray should be monitoring him constantly. Instead, he leaves the room. He makes phone calls. He sends text messages. 47 minutes, unattended. When he returns, Michael Jackson is not breathing. Murray panics. He attempts CPR in bed, soft surface, incorrect technique. He doesn't call 911 immediately. Instead, he calls Michael Amir Williams, Michael's personal assistant. Critical minutes pass. Finally, at 12:21 p.m., someone calls 911. "There's a gentleman here who needs help. He's not breathing." The operator asks, "Is he unconscious?" "Yes." "Is he breathing?" "No." CPR instructions begin. But it's too late. 12 minutes and 23 seconds have passed from the time Murray discovered Michael unresponsive until he called for help. 12 minutes. Enough time to save a life. Time lost forever. The paramedics arrive at 12:26 p.m. They find Michael in asystole, no heart activity. They administer epinephrine. They attempt defibrillation. Nothing. Michael is pronounced dead at the scene. But Murray insists. Take him to the hospital. He wants time. Time to hide the evidence of propofol in the room. Time to build a story. The paramedics transport the body to UCLA Medical Center. The doctors attempt resuscitation for an hour. Standard protocol, not real hope. At 1 p.m., Michael Joseph Jackson is officially pronounced dead. The news takes 7 minutes to leak. TMZ reports it first. And then, the world stops. At the Holmby Hills mansion, 3 children wait for their father. Prince, Paris, and Blanket don't know what's happening. The bodyguards are nervous. The phone rings constantly. Finally, their grandmother Catherine arrives. She gathers the children. She tells them that their father has been in an accident, that he isn't coming back. 11-year-old Paris screams. It's a scream that shatters something in everyone present. No, my daddy. I want my daddy. She collapses in Catherine's arms. Prince tries to be strong, but tears betray his composure. 7-year-old Blanket doesn't fully understand, but he senses the pain in the room. The 3 children Michael kept hidden from the world now face the greatest emptiness, a life without the only person they've ever known. The news interrupts regular programming in every country. CNN, BBC, all the major networks. Michael Jackson is dead. The reactions are instantaneous and global. In Japan, fans gather in front of the American embassy. In Paris, the screens on the Champs-Élysées broadcast videos of Thriller. In New York, Times Square comes to a standstill. In Rio de Janeiro, a spontaneous vigil. Michael's album sales skyrocket by 1,000% in 24 hours. Millions of people who criticized him during the trial now mourn his death. The hypocrisy is painful but predictable. Michael Jackson was controversial in life. Michael Jackson becomes a saint in death. The same media outlets that destroyed him now dedicate hagiographic specials to his genius. June 26, 2009. The Los Angeles County coroner performs an autopsy. The findings are devastating. Michael's stomach is nearly empty. He weighs 120 pounds. His body is scarred from multiple surgeries. His liver shows damage. His lungs are inflamed. But the cause of death is clear: acute propofol intoxication combined with lorazepam. Involuntary manslaughter, the coroner determines. Michael Jackson did not die from an accidental overdose. He died because a doctor administered a hospital anesthetic in a bedroom without proper equipment. He died because no one said no to the most famous man in the world. He died because 50 years of fame had built a cage from which there was no escape. Except this one. The king of pop had taken his last bow. But his story wouldn't end in that room. Because in death, Michael Jackson would become something bigger and more complicated than he ever was in life. July 7, 2009. The Staples Center is transformed into a temporary mausoleum. 20,000 people inside. 1 billion watching on television. It is one of the most watched televised events in history. Michael's golden casket rests center stage. Stevie Wonder sings, "Never Dreamed You'd Leave in Summer." Mariah Carey performs, "I'll Be There." Usher weeps as he sings, "Gone Too Soon." But the world-shattering moment comes at the end. 11-year-old Paris Jackson takes the podium. Her voice trembling. She says, "Since I was born, Daddy has been the best father you could ever imagine. And I just want to say I love him so much." She breaks down. The world weeps with her. Because in that moment, Michael ceases to be controversy. He becomes human again. A father. A man who was loved. Days after the funeral, the Los Angeles Police Department raided the Holmby Hills mansion. They found what Murray had tried to hide: vials of propofol, syringes, evidence of a makeshift clinic. The investigation revealed that Murray had ordered gallons of propofol in the months leading up to Michael's death, quantities impossible to justify for any legitimate use. Phone records showed that Murray was on the phone for 47 minutes while Michael was dying. In February 2011, Murray was tried for involuntary manslaughter. The testimony was brutal. Medical experts explained that what Murray did violated every safety protocol. The verdict: guilty. Sentence: for years in prison. He served less than 2. At the time of his death, Michael Jackson owed more than $400 million. His assets were mortgaged. Neverland was facing foreclosure. But something extraordinary happened. Michael dead was worth more than Michael alive. Album sales exploded. 35 million copies were sold in the year following his death. This Is It, a documentary made from rehearsal footage, grossed $272 million worldwide. Merchandise deals, reissues, virtual reality experiences. Michael's estate generated more than $2 billion in the following decade. Executors paid off all the debts. His children inherited a fortune. Michael Jackson became the most profitable dead celebrity in the world. Year after year, Katherine Jackson initially gains custody of Prince, Paris, and Blanket. But family tensions erupt. Joe Jackson, the abusive father, tries to claim a share of the estate. He is rejected. Michael's siblings fight for control of the legacy. There are legal battles over who can use the Jackson name, who can authorize merchandise. Paris, confused and traumatized, goes from a sheltered mansion to a public teenager. In 2013, at age 15, she attempts suicide. She survives. Years later, she will say, growing up without a father and then watching the world turn him into a monster. It's too much for anyone. Prince stays out of the spotlight. He studies business. Blanket changes his name to BG and tries to live a normal life. All three carry an impossible legacy. January 2019. The documentary, Leaving Neverland, premieres at Sundance. For hours, two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck, both knew Michael as children. Both testified in his defense during the 2005 trial. Now, years after his death, they accuse Michael of systematic sexual abuse over many years. The details are graphic, disturbing, devastating. There's no way to verify them. Michael is dead. He can't defend himself. But the accounts are consistent, emotional, compelling. The documentary generates a cultural tsunami. Radio stations remove Michael's songs. The Simpsons pulls the episode featuring his voice. The carefully reconstructed legacy collapses once again. Michael Jackson's estate is suing HBO over Leaving Neverland. They argue it violates a 1992 agreement. But the real battle is for public opinion. Taj Jackson, Michael's nephew, is launching a social media campaign defending his uncle. He points out inconsistencies in Robson and Safechuck's accusations. Both changed their testimonies multiple times. Both sought money from the estate before making public accusations. Forensic experts question their recovered memories. But the damage is done. Social media is polarized. Those who believe Michael was a predatory monster versus those who believe he is a victim of post-mortem extortion. There is no middle ground. Only screaming factions. The debate surrounding Michael Jackson is becoming something bigger. Can we separate the art from the artist? If Michael abused children, does that mean we should erase Thriller? Cancel Billie Jean? Pretend his cultural impact never existed? Some argue yes. Others say millions love the songs without knowing the man. That the music belongs to the world now, not its creator. Universities debate. Philosophical essays proliferate. But there is no right answer. Because the truth about Michael Jackson is more complex than any simple narrative. He was a victim of child abuse. He was an unparalleled artistic genius. He was a generous philanthropist. He was a tormented addict. He was innocent in court. Was he actually guilty? Only he knew. And he took that truth to his grave. Despite the controversies, Michael Jackson's impact remains undeniable. He changed pop music forever. He broke racial barriers on MTV. He transformed the music video into an art form. He revolutionized live performance. Thriller remains the best-selling album of all time. His dance moves, the moonwalk, the anti-gravity lean, the kick, are imitated globally. Artists from Beyoncé to Justin Timberlake, from Usher to The Weeknd, all cite Michael as a primary influence. Every current pop performance owes something to what Michael invented. Removing him from music history would be impossible. His legacy is etched into the DNA of modern entertainment. Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. Michael is buried in the Great Mausoleum in the Holly Terrace section. The exact location is secret. There is no public marker. But fans come anyway. They leave letters, flowers, notes. Thank you for the music. Your pain is over. The world didn't deserve you. On the anniversary of his death each year, thousands gather. They sing his songs. They mourn his loss. To them, Michael is a martyr, a pure soul destroyed by a cruel world. The accusations don't matter. The controversies don't matter. What matters is how his music made them feel. And that feeling will never die. 15 years after his death, Michael Jackson remains an enigma. Documentaries abound. Biographies are endless. Each promises the real truth. But each tells a different story. Michael the genius. Michael the monster. Michael the victim. Michael the manipulator. Who was he really? Perhaps the answer is that he was all of them. And none of them. Because Michael Jackson ceased to be a real person long ago. He became a mirror into which the world projects its own values, fears, and hopes. What you see in Michael Jackson says more about you than about him. And perhaps that is the saddest thing of all. A child who only wanted to be loved became a cultural Rorschach test. A legend so immense that the humanity behind it was completely lost. But there's one last story to tell. One that isn't about controversies or millions or courtrooms. It's about a boy from Gary, Indiana, with a voice that could break hearts, and the man he became when the world decided his humanity was negotiable. Let's go back to the beginning. Not the fame, not the scandals. The boy. Michael is 8 years old. He's in the basement of his house in Gary, Indiana, rehearsing until his legs tremble. Joseph shouts corrections. The brothers repeat the steps over and over. Michael looks out the small basement window. He sees the sky darkening. He hears other children playing outside. Their laughter penetrates the walls. Michael wants to join in, but he can't. He has to be perfect. He has to earn his father's love. He has to save his family from poverty. It's too much for such small shoulders. But Michael doesn't complain. He never complains. He just rehearses, and rehearses, and rehearses, until the boy disappears, and only the performer remains. Katherine Jackson would later recall a conversation. Michael was 10 years old. They had just returned from a tour. Michael sat in the kitchen, watching Katherine cook. "Mom," he asked, "would you love me if I couldn't sing?" Katherine stopped cooking. She looked at her son. There was something in his eyes that broke her. It wasn't childish curiosity. It was genuine fear. "Of course I would, baby," she replied. "I love you because you're my son." Michael nodded, but he didn't seem convinced. He had already learned the lesson that would haunt him for the rest of his life. His worth was tied to his talent. If he couldn't perform, he had no purpose. If he wasn't perfect, he didn't deserve love. This poisonous equation was seared into his psyche, and she would never, ever let it go. 1988. Michael builds Neverland. Psychologists who study him later will say it's classic, an adult trying to recapture what he lost. But it's more complicated. Michael doesn't just want to relive his childhood. He wants to create the childhood he never had. One where children play without pressure, without expectations, without parents yelling that they aren't good enough. He invites children from hospitals, charities, and schools. He watches them run through the playground, and something lights up on his face. It's not predation. It's vicariousness. He's experiencing childhood joy through them. Because he was never able to feel it directly. His childhood was work. These visits are his way of stealing moments of what he lost. Child trauma experts study videos of Michael from over the years. They notice patterns. The high-pitched, whispering voice he maintains in interviews. The timid body language. The way he covers his mouth when he speaks. These are defense mechanisms. A child who learned that speaking normally means criticism. That showing vulnerability means punishment. So he creates a persona. Gentle, soft, almost ethereal. A persona that cannot be attacked because it doesn't seem threatening. But it's a constant, exhausting performance. Michael can never relax. He can never simply be himself. Because he was broken so long ago that he no longer knows how to rebuild himself. Between 1988 and 2000, Michael donated over $300 million to charities. He founded the Heal the World Foundation. He visited children's hospitals regularly. He paid for medical treatments for unknown children. His employees tell stories. Michael seeing news reports about a child in need and writing checks immediately. No publicity. No fanfare. Just quiet help. Why? Because Michael understands childhood suffering intimately. Every sick child is him in that basement in Gary. Every abused child is him under Joseph's belt. Saving them is his way of saving the child he once was. Of giving others what no one gave him. Protection. Michael had 2 marriages. Both failed. He had friendships with famous women. Diana Ross, Elizabeth Taylor, Brooke Shields. but never a deep romantic connection. Lisa Marie Presley would later say, "Michael never let me in completely. There were parts of him that were closed off, protected. Because Michael never learned real intimacy. He learned performance. He learned transactions. Love is the ultimate reward. His relationships followed that pattern. Contractual, structured, secure. Because real love, vulnerable, unpredictable, unconditional, was terrifying. It required trust that Michael lost decades before. The plastic surgeons Michael worked with eventually spoke out. They described sessions where Michael would bring photos of how he wanted to look. Never satisfied. Always one more tweak. A smaller nose. Higher cheekbones. A more defined chin. Some doctors refused. Others accepted the money. The result? A face that became unrecognizable. What did Michael see in the mirror? Not what the world saw. He saw the boy Joseph called Big Nose. He saw imperfections amplified by decades of psychological abuse. Body dysmorphia is common among survivors of child abuse. Michael never received treatment. Instead, he had unlimited access to surgeons willing to reconstruct his face in pursuit of a perfection that never existed. 1997. Michael is on stage at Aloha Stadium in Hawaii. 60,000 people are screaming his name. He sings "Man in the Mirror." The crowd sings every word. Michael should feel connected, loved, whole. Instead, he feels more alone than ever. Because these 60,000 people don't love him. They love Michael Jackson. They love the legend, the moonwalk, the hits. If Michael were to step off the stage, take off the glittering costumes, and walk among the crowd as an ordinary man, vulnerable, imperfect, human, no one would recognize him. No one would want him. That truth eats away at him. The greatest fame in the world doesn't fill the void left by a father who never said, "I'm proud of you," for no reason. Michael's final months are documented in leaked emails. He writes to his directors, his producers, his crew. The notes are filled with enthusiasm for "this is it," for proving his greatness one last time. But there are lines that reveal desperation. "I need this to be perfect. This is my last chance." He's not talking about money. He's talking about legacy, about redemption, about proving his worth beyond the accusations, the controversies, the years of media destruction. In the final weeks, he tells Kenny Ortega, "They're going to love me again." He doesn't say the show. He says, "Love me." Because that's the only thing Michael truly wanted. What he chased his entire life. What he could never sustain. Unconditional love. Complete acceptance. Inner peace. Today, more than 15 years after his death, the debates surrounding Michael Jackson continue. Genius or monster? Victim or perpetrator? Legend or cautionary tale? But perhaps the real question is different. Michael Joseph Jackson was an extraordinarily talented child born into impossible circumstances. He was abused by his father, exploited by the industry, adored and destroyed by the public. He never had a chance to be ordinary, to make private mistakes, to grow up without millions watching. The world stripped him of his humanity piece by piece. And when he broke, as any human being would under that kind of pressure, the world condemned him for not being perfect. There is one last scene to imagine. It's not documented, but perhaps it happened. It's 2009, days before his death. Michael is alone in his bedroom. The house is quiet. His children are asleep. He stands in front of the mirror. He doesn't see the icon. He doesn't see the legend. For a fleeting moment, he sees the boy, the 8-year-old boy in Gary's basement. The boy who just wanted to play outside. The boy who never asked to be the greatest entertainer of all time. Michael whispers to his reflection, "I'm sorry. I did the best I could. And perhaps, just perhaps, that's enough." Because Michael Jackson wasn't perfect. He was complicated, damaged, controversial, brilliant, generous, lost. He was human. And his story, with all its light and shadow, is a mirror for the rest of us. It reflects what we do to our geniuses. How we consume talent without considering the cost. How we worship greatness but destroy the people who create it. Michael Jackson sold 750 million records. He won 400 awards. He broke records that will never be equaled. But what he truly leaves behind isn't statistics. It's a question we all must answer. What do we owe to the children we turned into stars? What responsibility do we bear when fame destroys instead of uplifts? And when we look at Michael Jackson, with all his impossible contradictions, what do we really see? Do we see him? Or do we see ourselves? The king of pop is dead. But the boy from Gary, Indiana, with the voice that could make angels cry, deserves to be remembered too. Not just for what he became, but for what he never had the chance to be. A child. Just a child.